The PKR Masters is PKR's most prestigious monthly event with a buy-in of $270. It's a life-changing prize money which will attract PKR's top competitors. We're going to be taking a look back at a game from the 6th of October, and your commentators tonight are Dan Grant and Simon Hemsworth.
Simon, someone you know pretty well at this final table, this is his second Masters final table, Wonga Man.
Yeah, he's a very good friend of mine. He also plays very few tournaments, but he does seem to go quite far when he does play them.
Well, I guess if you play very few, then you should pick the Masters as one of the ones that you play.
Yeah.
It's got all the money in, and not the toughest field, some would say. I mean, there are a lot of other high-stakes tournaments out there that are tougher than this, I would think, maybe.
It's a really, really good tournament. I think it's one of my favourite ones. I really make an effort to play it. And yeah, you got a really good first prize, a really good field, a good structure and everything. Yeah, it's good.
Well, straight off the bat, we have a short stack getting it in and getting called by Feel 1983, the chip leader.
This is the river.
Et voila, chip leader knocks one from the table. That's Mr. All Call, 8th place. $2,261 is still not a bad payday. But how often do you get to a Masters final table? Not too often, and you're always looking up top. Well, I think first thing we should say is the stacks are pretty shallow.
Yeah.
And the second is that the money's big, and that's going to affect people's play.
I mean, there's not a lot you can do sometimes. I think they got the guy with ace-10 there. He kind of had to gamble. He had a short stack. He had to put it in. He's just unlucky that the chip leader happened to wake up with a really good hand.
Yeah, a former champion. I haven't seen this guy play Oracle of Omaha. I don't know whether he plays cash.
He plays,
but I imagine
he
must do.
plays 5-10 occasionally.
Right.
He doesn't put in a lot of volume, but he does play high stakes.
Well, not much to speak about strategically in this hand either. Most unfortunate for Markel 1506. You play for 9 hours, get to a final table, and look what happens to you. That's $3,266. I fear we're not going to see an awful lot of post-flop play, but
I don't think so.
There's still room for the odd reshove without the nuts and such like pre-flop, I would hope.
Yeah, well, they might get a situation where a few people get knocked out quickly and the stacks build and get deeper, but if you've got a lot of people at 20 or less big blinds, you're just going to see a lot of reshoving.
Yeah, a tricky little spot here. I mean, rightly, Paddy actually had the worst hand, but he must have thought there's a good chance that was ahead.
Yeah, it was good. It was a good shove, probably a good fold.
Ready?
And we had 3 players who've reached this final table before. Actually, Mr. Allcall's already out in 8th, so won't be going any better than his previous, what was it, 3rd place finish for $9,500. Actually, he's already gone. It's down to Wonga, who my stats tell me came 3rd in 2010 for $11K. So he'll be kind of used to this level of play, and he'll be looking to go 1 or 2 better.
There you go. Let's see the flop. Let's have the turn card.
Well, another short stack gets it in and gets a double up there. Ben 2 Jackson still, I mean, you can see all of these guys right up to Wonga are in that tricky spot where there's not a lot of room for manoeuvre.
It doesn't seem like they're particularly worried about the pay jumps.
Right.
I mean, you can imagine a lot of people will want to fold, maybe making it in a couple of extra thousand, maybe, if watching people get knocked out. There's certainly a situation when I played this sort of 6 months or so ago. You had quite a few short stacks, and a lot of people just didn't want to gamble. They didn't want to risk, getting knocked out straight away.
Yeah, how have I not mentioned already that, of course, you are a Masters champion?
Yeah,
I apologise for that. Maybe I should have waited until you brought it up.
Yeah, but I remember we were all very short stacked in that final table, actually, and it just so happened I either got good hands or I won the all-ins, and that was kind of the reason why I went on to win.
Yeah, well,
not just skill.
Yeah, short stack there, put 66K in with the pre-flop raise, passes for 100 more with the 8-5. That is that's kind of a real problem for Norca Tour.
What was that?
Well, yeah, I think you should
get it all in.
Just not give anybody the option to shove over the top of you or just fold.
Well, Wonga, less than 20 bigs, gets out of the way. feeler. I think he's the chip leader still. Well, we've come across him before. He is quite a fine player.
All in.
And he would certainly be a favourite here.
I'm going to fold. Fold.
Paddy got a couple of shoves through, and that just keeps him alive. Kind of maintenance of his stat. But at some point, those bottom...
I mean, that shove was like 12 big blinds or so. So he's getting a lot of value from getting somebody to fold. You know, you got the 2 big blinds that the guys raised, and then the antes, whatever blinds are in there. So if you can get that sort of hand through, that's going to accumulate a lot of chips that way.
Yeah, very short stacked Norcator. Well, look, he's only got 5 bigs, so he's... Well, and fortunately for him, he's going to pick up a caller. But even then, look, he's only going to have 136k. He doesn't want a jack, that is for sure.
This is the river.
And there we go. But the double up, I mean, it takes him off the bottom, but really there's absolutely no time to waste.
I mean, it is a difficult spot, actually, for the 4 guys that are short, because the difference between 3rd and 6th will be pretty significant.
Yeah. Well, 6th place, 4 grand, and 3rd is 10 grand.
So it's a lot of money, and you know, most of these people probably won't have played for that kind of money before, and might not get the opportunity to again very soon. So
yeah, well, this could be a problem for Ben Jackson. He's made the shove that he has to make really there with such a short stack. Phil, he's the chip leader. He's got King 10.
I'd
must be a snap call, wouldn't it? Really?
Yeah.
I call.
I think.
I mean, I wouldn't. Yeah. Again, I expect Ben to be shoving really light there, and King 10 with your chip stack.
Ooh, he just gets there on the river. But I mean, as a chip leader, you're not going to be too worried about doubling up any of these really short guys.
No, because it's not affecting his chip stack particularly. It's good to just put people at risk and get people knocked out.
Yeah, and with 30 grand in the middle each time, you can pay for one of those 100k double ups.
Yeah.
In one or two rounds.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, I think he'll expect King 10 to actually be winning a lot of the time. I don't think he's just calling to gamble against a better hand.
Yeah, Ben Jackson might even have felt a bit like, he's tanking. I might even be good here with the queen. and might have even called it a nit roll. Here we go. Norcator he's trying to get something going. It is a tricky spot though. I think he's got quite a short stack. Is he going to be getting away? He's already done that once for a third of his stack. He left his children out there. And Oracle.
Fold.
Yeah, he gets out of the way.
I mean, I don't know why he made it 2.5. It's just an extra half a big blind. You're just burning when you have to fold. I mean, really, if I was raising there with that kind of chip stack, I'd like to have mostly hands that I'm going to call a shove with. Because if you're playing against a lot of other people with similar stack sizes, you're just going to get shoved on so often.
New hand.
Wonga man quietly going about his business.
Yeah, well, I mean, they basically all are, aren't they? You know, it's going to be driven so much by.
There you go.
Well, nice. He's going to. He hasn't got much to do except shove, and he's fortunate to run into a hand.
I don't know why he shoved there. I'd rather just been raised.
Okay.
Because he had.
Oh, well, this is a big moment. There's split outs too, but if he can get this,
Here comes the river.
now he's in business.
Yeah. Suddenly he's
Good stuff.
Yeah, suddenly he's got a stat that you can do stuff with.
Yeah, and Phil is knocked off the top spot for the first time at this final table. He did have a comfortable 750k chip lead when we came into this, and now he has a different set of decisions to make.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. He didn't really want to double it up. Look, like I said, I'm surprised that Wonga man shoved that hand, because when you shove, you're not letting hands like Broadway hands like King Queen, Queen Jack to reshove on you, or like
Almost
rag
like
aces and things like
stuff.
that. They all just have to fold.
Yes.
I mean, Ace King on the button, those stack sizes is just absolute nuts.
Maybe we'll hear from him. We can berate him a bit. That's cool.
A shove's not a bad play.
Yeah.
I just prefer him raising with that hand. He might be thinking about balancing. He might be thinking, well,
See the flop.
I'd shove a lot of my rubbish hands with this, but it
Yeah.
doesn't. It's not that important a thing to be thinking about on a final table. I don't
Yeah,
think.
these exact situations aren't going to come around very often.
Exactly. I
Right.
mean, why do you need to think about balancing?
Okay.
This
Well,
is-
yeah. Our chip leader opens with ace-5, picks up a couple of callers, notably Wonga, who's flopped a gut shot and a over
Turn.
and a backdoor flush draw. Now he has the flush draw. And, well, Paddy, unbeknownst to him, is ahead. He may well think that this is the time to have a small stab at this pot. But he's only got 180. The pot's 90. What do you do? There we go. Does it feel weak? That's the problem. What can Wonga do here?
Well, I'm sure he's going to at least call.
I call.
And here's the river.
Well, I mean, you know, it does bring the one card straight, but I don't think anyone will be too worried about it. Paddy, you would imagine, he's got a pot-sized bet behind him. Can he be moved off it? Would Wonga want to use half of his stack to make that play?
I think if it was a heads-up pot and Wonga didn't have to think
All
about
in.
the other bigger stack in hand,
Well, there we go.
he would have raised the turn.
Okay. Well, he
I know.
gets snapped instantly by Paddy, and respect to him, he knew he was ahead there.
That's funny because I remember Wonga talking about that hand, and he wasn't happy about the snap call.
Right.
But from a strategic point of view, I mean, like he wasn't sure about the guy.
Oh,
calling.
really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, because it was a 4 straight, and I think the guy probably just called because he had 2 pair rather than anything else.
Okay, I can see a few opposing views there, really.
I mean, it's hard to fold 2 pair in that spot, but
I think perhaps, well, the guy obviously, well, not obviously, but I mean, he got called on the turn rather than shoved on the turn. And then Wonga moved in on the end.
I mean, really,
Is the story there for that to be a credible value bet on the end by Wonga?
but when Wonga calls the turn, I think he does have a lot of like made hands.
Right.
You know, he does have a lot of made hands
Okay.
in his range, and therefore, why would he shove the river? But it's difficult.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think Wonga's play is definitely fine. I think once you get to that stage and he goes 4 straight, there are a lot of hands that he's folding. I'm sure he
Right.
would have folded 1 pair hands.
And he was kind of forced into shoving the river because can you really check that down and just give it
No,
away?
and
You're,
there was a lot of-
100% giving
There
it
was,
away.
there was a lot of money in the pot.
Yeah.
He was never winning with king high.
Okay.
Well,
Well,
it's unfortunate.
yeah, that takes him back down from that 450 mark in amongst the pack. And Paddy, well, he's made a couple of solid shoves pre-flop when he was the short stack. And, I think he did fine in that pot. So
Here we go. New hand.
maybe there's a way to the win for Paddy. But obviously, our former champion, he's a high-stakes cash game player. We haven't seen, well, we've seen virtually nothing of him at this table so far, but he hasn't really had to do anything.
I raised.
And of course, we miss all the pots where they just raise and,
Yeah,
and
it'll-
take it down.
It'll happen a lot where you just aren't getting any hands in situations where you can't really be raising that light, and sometimes you'll just quite rightly have to fold a lot of hands in a row.
Yeah, Norcator, he's done this raise from, well, a so-called early position.
Yeah,
when
I
we're
would
playing
be
four-handed.
really happy about going on in here if I was Wonga.
Well, we
Just
shall see.
considering the guy's done this a few times.
Well, he did it with the King 7, and he's passed in even worse spots there, stack size wise. So Wonga does get it in, and Norcator, I mean, he's got away with it in that he's still around, having passed fairly sizable
it's costing
chunks
him
of
a
his
lot
stack.
of money each time that he does this, though.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with raising rubbish hands there, but yeah, I mean, it's kind of unlucky. People are having good enough hands to go all in on him. A lot of the time, he might get that raised through. I still don't understand why he's making it 2.5x opposed to min raise. I think the min raise achieves exactly the same,
Right.
but is cheaper, half big blind cheaper, and half big blind is quite a lot of chips. When you're all pretty
Over
short.
several,
Doesn't
yeah.
sound much, but
Right.
it all counts.
Yeah. Life is good
Raised.
for the
I'm going to fold.
Belarusian. Tricky spot here. These two guys have got fairly similar and
I
fairly
really
big
like a
stacks.
3-bet from file here.
You would like it.
I would really like it. Yeah, I think it's just the stacks are really good for it. From what I saw before, like it looks really strong.
Right. I mean, he's going to get shoved on here, but
yeah, it's just unlucky. I mean, Oracle should be raising a fair amount of different hands. If he has sort of 8s or something, he'd probably have to fold, or he might call and he's going to see a lot of bad flops. But he just happens to have it this time.
yeah, both of these guys up to the challenge of doing what they needed to do.
Yeah, I mean, just bad result for him, but I think that 3-bet was good.
And well, Paddy Pair, a guy I haven't come across too often at Masters final tables, certainly in the high stakes one, 32nd final table, and it could be an absolute monster for him. His biggest result was 4.5k in the daily 17k back in 2009, if you remember that.
That was a long time ago.
Yes, it was. Certainly in poker terms as well. Things have come on a long way since then, to the stage where we're talking about min raises being. I certainly remember when I started playing 10 years ago, min raises were the sign of the donk. But it really has come full circle. In he goes. He takes the opposite view to Norcator, just gets it in.
I fold.
Looks a lot like he's going to sweep up the blinds and antes.
I fold.
Why is that interesting?
Which one? Sorry.
Well, that hand.
Oh, no. I think I was thinking about the min raise thing.
Oh,
the
right,
min
okay.
raise thing.
Ah.
I mean, and because there are kind of pros and cons to doing it.
Yeah.
If you min raise, you're more likely to get people defending out the blinds. Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Sometimes you want people to call with things. Sometimes you'd rather just take it down. But
I mean, in situations like this, it does look like it. There are situations where it doesn't make you more likely to get called because these guys are good enough that they're not just going to start deciding to peer.
It looks like a much different dynamic to other final tables I've seen where people just love defending, and that probably is just because maybe they're better players or because they're shallower.
Tricky one this. Phil min raises with the 10-8 of hearts, which may well be good enough to take on Norcator here. It's only 110 more. He's still alive if he makes the call, but are you...
It's quite tough, this. I mean...
Get in your beauty.
I don't
nice
think...
one.
Funnily
From
enough...
what I've seen, I don't think Norcator's
Right.
been shoving with
See the flop.
really rubbish hands, but I think he just had the
Oh my god.
mathematical...
And here's the river.
Oh, he gets there with the runner on a flush.
Yeah. That's unlucky.
It is unlucky. It was very close. Ironically, if he made it 3x pre-flop with the 10-8, then it was an easier call once you get shoved on. But he decides to go with it. I think, I figured maybe he thinks he's good enough to play a 200k stack if he loses it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he knows what's doing. It's not a hard stack to play. It's just your moves are very limited. It's kind of just all in or fold.
Yeah. Well, and actually a 360k stack is a very difficult stack to play in this
Yeah,
sport.
it's true. I mean, there are more things you could do with it, but you could possibly 3-bet in the same way that he did with that A7 earlier. But I think the call was right, and just got a bit unlucky to lose.
Yeah, you're going to be super live against pretty much most hands, aren't you?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's just it's hard for people to have really good hands like aces.
Well, here we go. The very short stack of Ben Jackson looks like it's going out of this tournament. He's been on PKR TV a number of times, certainly a very competent player, but that is a 6th place for him. $4,271 for just 9 hours is not the worst job in the world.
No.
And,
It's a good result, and he did what he could. He couldn't really.
Yeah, I don't remember
do
him having
anything
any.
more. It's just you get short, you have to just go all in with any old rubbish that you happen to have a lot of the time.
Yeah, I've seen him before. He actually won a Sunday High Roller title for 5.5k, which is still his best result. He's won plenty of other stuff too.
I think I'll raise.
But now the focus is on this quintet. Norcator. Well, this is something we haven't really seen.
Yeah, I mean, if I was File, I'd think that Norcator had a good hand.
Get in your beauty.
Yeah, File
nice
will be
one.
delighted to see this and not very happy to see that. Well, he'll be begging for a heart. Heart would do. Well, there we go.
And he's gone up to chip leader.
Wow. And perhaps not something we would have predicted early on here. But he has turned a 100k stack into the chip lead in the Masters. Unquestionably the most important moment of his PKR career so far. You wonder how much blood is thumping in his ears, because it does tend to with pretty much anyone. I mean, I'd imagine even the guy who's won it before is going to be sat here thinking, this is what you play poker for, these last dying moments of a tournament.
Well, I don't, yeah.
Unless he's got just like shitloads of money.
Anyway,
He's just like, well,
I
whatever.
don't think anybody's flipping about tens of thousands of dollars at all. Maybe Phil Ivey.
Or Bane even, but for the
Bane,
wrong reasons.
Well, Bane would definitely be playing his best.
You think?
Yeah, of course he would.
Yeah. I don't think he chooses when to play his best, though.
I think Bane's A game is really, really good.
Oh, no doubt. But why
but I think
can
he
you?
does
If it was a mere question of controlling when you chose to play your A game, then he would always play his A game.
Well, I think he would choose to play it at a final table like this, where the money's quite significant.
I think you're right. Maybe that's the only time when he really does get truly into the zone.
Well, I think it's out of his control as well when he doesn't, tilt and things like that. You can't help it.
Right.
Can't help the rage sometimes.
Yeah. Tricky spot here. Paddy has made pretty much all the right moves, in my opinion. This whole final table so far, he's up against a guy he can assume can have a fairly wide range.
All in.
Oh, nice play.
Yeah, there we go. Stack size was about right. He certainly doesn't want to be peeling against a guy this good.
No.
And Omaha, well, I mean, he's got the chips to call, but yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, then that would cripple him, though.
Yeah, and
not cripple him, but it would significantly dent his stack.
I don't think he has seen any evidence that his opponents, or certainly Paddy Pear, have been doing that with loads of funky, strange hands.
No, I mean, well, he has. We've seen him do it, but I don't think a lot of them have gone to showdown like we've seen him shove like Queen Jack off and things like that. But A7, it's quite close to that level of hand that you might make the call with, but I don't think it's quite strong enough. I think something like Ace 10, he would have called maybe small, medium pairs plus kind of thing.
Yeah, Chippy gets out of the way, presumably because these two are fairly short. Wonga, I guess, is the effective short set.
Read him.
Get snapped, and he's got to win a race to stay in this.
Let's have the turn card.
Queen would do. A king, a queen, or a 10. And it's not. And, well, that is the end of Wonga Man. He gets a 4th place. That is not an improvement on his 3rd place from 2010, but he does get $7,800, which is decent. Looking back on it, I suppose you can say, yeah, that was not a bad result.
Yeah, it's one of those things. He'll be slightly peeved at the time, but he'll look back on it the next day and be like, that's pretty good result.
There you go.
Here's the flop.
And we're in again for a 700k pot. It's Paddy at risk, and he needs help.
And here's the river.
Yeah, he doesn't get it. And suddenly we're heads up. It is kind of fast and
now
furious.
it's suddenly quite deep because you get a few knocks out and they're nearly 50 big blinds each.
And if the bookies were pricing this heads up match up, I mean, you couldn't get any closer in chip stack. But in terms of experience here, you would have to go with the Belarusian.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much heads up he's played or heads up in tournaments, with these sort of stacks, but definitely he's well, if I think he's going to have the edge.
I mean, if you're used to playing fairly high stakes, short-handed cash, that will immediately give you a number of advantages, I would think.
Yeah, but then when I've got heads up.
Sorry, Sam. That is a move. This is the second move now. He's made a couple of 3-bets now late on.
Oh, he's turned some else.
Wow, this is tricky. They've both got about 700k. Oh, actually, 900k.
I call.
Wow, he makes the call. Oh, that ruins this hand for us, the spectators, anyway. And the question now is 600. He's got a pot-sized bet. Did he do that deliberately? Did he leave himself a pot-sized bet? Was he just hoping to get there?
Well, I mean, maybe that's what he was thinking.
Oh, he's got a pot-sized bet. He moves in. This is it. Oracle of Omaha. One wonders why he waits to collect his Masters title, and he does. Norgator. Well, he's got balls. But it didn't work out for him. A very short heads-up session. And a second historic title. He joins a very, very small group of people and a fantastic win.
Well, congratulations to Oracle of Omaha, who's won 19 large, and that's his second title. So congratulations to him. And Dan, a historic victory.
Yeah, absolutely. I can only think of maybe one other person in PKR history who's achieved this feat, and so yeah, it's pretty incredible. Winning one of them is kind of most PKR players' dream. Certainly, well, not dream in life, but you know what I mean.
Well,
25, 10, 20, 30 grand is good money, and it's a nice title to have in your bag. This guy's won it twice. He only turns out for the top and the toughest tournaments, and so I thought he did really well. It was a lesson in short strategy.
There's a lot of diction going on.
Indeed it is. I thought, you know, he played around everyone else really well. When he had the short stack, he played really well. When he had the big stack, he played perfectly. The final hand was a bit funky for me. I think Norkanator, or whatever his name was, went a little, I think it was a rush of blood there, but he had heart to pull the trigger and move all in on a bluff, you know, with two people left in the Masters and so much money on the line. But, you know, whatever. I wasn't there, so, you know, credit to him for the heart.
Thank you. And Scott, advice on short stack strategy. See, I got it.
Apart from the obvious, which is really don't blind away and find some spots to shove, I'd say pick on the stacks that can't afford to call you rather than the chip leaders who can risk some of their chips.
Brilliant. Thank you, guys. And we'll see you again next time at PKR TV.